Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky, and stars, 10,000 suns.
Namaste. Hi, cosmic yogis and astrologers. Welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid. And we're bringing you your astrological weather for December 18th all the way through January 17th. And we sat with this theme for a little bit. I mean, we usually do. We have fun workshopping it out, but we think we got there this time. As a quick preview, we're kicking off with a Gemini full moon on December 18th and taking you through the Cancer full moon on January 17th. And there's some pretty big energy shifts and sign shifts this time around, but we distilled it down to the essence, and it's good.
So much of the energy in this particular report is around the mind, and we wanted to address the mind stuff, and we kept that In Vogue song, "Free Your Mind and the Rest Will Follow." That was going to be our theme because we thought that would be really appropriate, because that's in essence what we all need to do, is just let go of all the chatter, the mental fluctuations of the mind, and tune into our heart power. But we kept stumbling over this earth consciousness that's in this report too, that there's so much Capricorn energy and earth-focused energy, as we'll download here in a minute, that we couldn't ignore the earth piece of it. And really, I think they go hand in hand, that if we quiet the mind, we'll tune into what's more important, which at this point is the earth. And so our theme is love the earth and the rest will follow. Kind of a combination of the In Vogue song from the 80s and what's happening now today, and putting it together, love the earth and the rest will follow. And we truly believe that if we tune into taking care of her, and she's quaking and shaking all over, as we've seen with the tornadoes in Kentucky and Illinois, Tennessee, and the earthquakes off the western shoreboard, particularly around Oregon, the floods that are happening in Japan, the volcano that's taken off a little bit in Hawaii, and snowfall on top of the volcano in Hawaii, just crazy weather patterns, intense wind. We can feel her warning us that she would like some loving kindness. And really the earth is the heart of everything in our existence. And in fact, if you take that last letter off of the word earth and put it to the beginning of it, you get the word heart. And that is a big focus. And so in the yogic tradition, we have, of course, the mind, the body, and the spirit. We look at those three strands and we try to yoke them. But the yogis also have the concept of a heart-mind. And I think that's more where we're needing to go right now, is let our heart-mind lead us. And that's a difficult concept for us because we have them very separated. They're about 10 inches apart. But this deeper heart is called the Hridayam heart, or our spiritual heart. And it has its own divine intelligence that can guide us. And you might call this your inner wisdom, or Vijnanamaya Kosha, or just your wise self or intuitive self. And there's been a battle in our humanity between, individually, we struggle with, should I be more cognitive thinking or should I be more intuitive thinking? And we've become so cognitive, so mentally stimulated, that we've drowned out this intuitive voice, this deeper wisdom heart. And so love the earth, return to her, basic ways, earth consciousness, and then the rest will follow. It's like returning to our heart when we return to the earth. So that's kind of the download of what we're going to unravel for the next month cycle, starting with that Gemini full moon, and it starts with a bang. You want to talk about that square?
December 18th is a Gemini full moon, and with that there is Mercury in Capricorn square Chiron. Chiron's also going to be a big player in this report. Chiron is the wounded healer, comes from the Greek tradition, but it is one of the universal themes throughout cultures, mythologies, ancient Mother Earth traditions, a story of how we're both human and we're both spirit, and how we feel wounded and we go on a journey to recover that, and through that we go through our underworld, our shadow, and rebirth. That's the quick story of Chiron. And Chiron is currently in the sign of Aries, and Chiron takes about 50 to 51 years to orbit around the sun. So by the way, anybody born about 1970, 71, 72 is having a Chiron return this year, meaning you all are having a reactivation or a look at where you've been wounded and where you've been doing the healing, and have you been carrying forward with that. But Mercury square Chiron has a lot to do with where we're wounded in the mind, what we think, our perceptions, our belief systems that are holding us into a pattern around we're not empowered, we're not strong enough, we don't belong here, no one sees me, my actions don't have an impact on the greater whole, I don't have willpower would be some of the things coming up. And so it's weakening of the mind, which is then weakening of our ability to connect to the soul. And the Gemini full moon, Gemini is the energy of seeing this, the network of where it goes out to in our lives. So this can be a revelatory full moon to see how the mind and the constructs of our mind have affected us, how we may be wounded and suffering from that. It can also be a way to say, oh, I'm ready to let this go. That's a big piece of Chiron, is if you've been doing the work and preparing, this can be a more gentle release of something like, yep, it's time, this season is over. Like when the leaves fall from the trees at the end of fall, they're not resisting, they just go away when the wind blows by.
Or gather in our front stoop, it seems like. So, also want to point out that Gemini, the full moon's in Gemini, but Mercury is also Gemini quality. So Mercury's home in Gemini, and it's really can be mentally provoking. So on that December 18th full moon with Mercury squaring Chiron, the wounded healer, as Michael said, in addition to what he said, I feel like this could be, if you're not in right mind, you could feel really frazzled on this full moon, really irritated. Plus, we're in Vata season, so there's lots of Vata provocation going on. The wind kicking up. I don't know where you're at in the world, but here in Denver, we just had some incredible wind forces coming through the last couple of days, and it's jolting and irritating to our consciousness, to our mind stuff. That's very Vata, and so is this full moon. So it's poking and pushing, and squares are always a little bit more challenging. So just have awareness, especially on full moons when our emotions tend to be a little higher, to keep that Mercury part of it in check, not to be spewing and throwing your words out in a disharmonious way. Potential's there for that. And then we move on, some big deals there. You want to speak to the Venus-Chiron transitions.
December 19th, the day after the full moon, the planet Venus goes retrograde, and Venus is one of the rarer retrogrades. It doesn't happen every year. It happens every year and a half. And when she does, she's retrograde for 40 days, which is a mystical number. And this one is interesting just visually. Right now, when you look to the west in the evening, the brightest star, Venus, the evening star, is hanging over the mountains in Colorado. And she's going to take a descent starting on December 19th and quickly go below the mountains and then disappear. And then she'll resurrect on the other side of the sky and arise before the sun. And so she'll be the morning star. It's kind of a magical thing to watch and see. Venus in the Mayan tradition, they call her the firefly of the sky. And so you can watch this little dance in the show. But her retrograde is in Capricorn, and this is also significant because she is dancing right around Pluto. Just a few days prior to this report, she had conjuncted Pluto, hello there. And then when she retrogrades, she's going to go meet up with Pluto again. and then she's going to crisscross when she goes forward again. So it's a lot of Venus's values, heart, how we connect to self-love, Mother Earth, love the earth, and the rest will follow. And Pluto is the soul and what needs to transform and what needs to evolve. And so this whole Venus retrograde with Pluto in Capricorn is about how we relate to our bodies, the choices we've made, how we relate to the earth and our soul, and revealing what may have been hidden, out of balance, what needs to be restored, rejuvenated, and brought back. Did you want to say something about that?
Well, the Venus in Capricorn piece, remember he said Venus is our values, it's love, it's our physical body, physical form. And it's in the sign of Capricorn, which is earth. It's a solid, it's the highest octave of earth of all the signs. And it's very focused on earth energy, these two. And it's going to, take this slow retreat, retrograde retreat through Capricorn for a little bit. And I feel that it's a focus on the body. And I think it's we're coming up to New Year's Day and we make our resolutions and our intentions and we're going to get in good shape and we're going to go to the gym and we're going to hit our yoga classes on the regular. All those little promises that we try to make at the beginning or start of a new year. And remember, she's about self-love. And one of the things that I feel is really important at this time is to focus on the idea of self-love as not something that we need to start doing ASAP, like I'm exhausted, I'm going to go get a pedicure and a massage and take myself out to dinner and time out and get a book and calm down. It's not like an isolated event that self-love is about. Self-love is a constant. It's a routine, it's a lifestyle, it's a everyday manifestation. And we have not been doing that because we've been so mental. We've been so heady. We think about doing those things, but we're so busy, I don't have time for taking care of myself. And this is where I think the retrograde piece is saying, no, back up the truck. Self-love is every day. It's part of your lifestyle. It's not something to isolate out and go to the spa. It's make every day a spa treatment. Not literally, of course, but just every day is taking care of ourselves in whatever way. So as you're planning your, new goals for the upcoming 2022, put in there that self-love is priority one. Priority one, and that it's a daily habit. It becomes habit. And that's part of that mental reprogramming. It becomes important. Put it at the top of the list that my body, this earth, is numero uno right now.
Oh. That same day, Venus is going retrograde and Chiron goes direct. Very interesting. And Chiron's been retrograde for about just 5 months since early summer. And I spoke about Chiron just a moment ago. And so going forward, the wounded healer is now given some forward motion. Since July or late June, it's been going retrograde in the sign of Aries, which has to do with empowerment. Do we as people or individuals have the ability to make our choices and initiate? Aries also has a lot to do with understanding your own intuitive body. Aries represents the body itself, so here's another theme about body and earth and toning in. And when the wounded healer is not in alignment with the body, we don't know our intuition, we don't know what's healthy for us, we make choices that may be out of alignment, or we may know what's right for us, but we succumb to external authority that has pressure on us. That would be the Aries out of bounds energy, where we're not standing up for ourselves like the warrior. We're succumbing and saying, okay, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. And so when Chiron goes direct, we may have a surge of, wait a second, a little awakening, and it won't necessarily be on that exact day, but he'll gather momentum into the coming year of 2022, plus some other things in this report where I think Chiron will be very significant this year in awakening and doing some healing and shaking off some old clouding of the mental matrix network that's been around us.
I remember Chiron squaring Mercury, so then the next day it goes direct, and it can use that change of direction with that Mercury square to, reprogram some thoughts, especially if we're deeply critical of ourselves. That's part of the Mercury mind, is to be ultra critical. Critical thinking is a great skill to have, but when it becomes self-deprecating and we're our own worst critic, then there needs to be a shift, because that's not serving you in any way. I recently had a friend say to me that she was struggling with some body image stuff, and that she wanted to learn to, accept her body and love her body as is. And she said she always admired me for being able to do that. And I guess I've never even really thought about it otherwise, whether I'm certainly not a model figure that we see in the magazines and the movies, it's not that super thin and whatnot. But I've never thought about whether I should love my body. I shouldn't say never. There's always those days where you're not feeling in your best way. But generally speaking, I have embraced this vessel for my soul as, what it is, and just worked with it. Take it for what it is and be proud of it, stand in it. And I think that's part of that Chiron direct, where you're working with some wounds that maybe you've acquired clear back to when you were a little kid, where you were made to think that there's certain things about your physicality that aren't acceptable in our existence. Like, it's not good enough. That's part of that mental that we need to clear out. And whatever you were given with your beautiful vessel, what you were born with, you chose. You chose that body. You chose the particular elements about it, the height, the color of your hair, the color of your skin, the shape of your teeth, the way your eyes sit on your face, the little extra bit of butter around your belly, whatever it is, you chose it, and it's for your own advancement of your soul. It's to help you walk this earth walk in the way that you're supposed to, with harmony and assertiveness, so that you can reach your potential, so you can clear your karma, so that you can step into your power. So instead of wishing you had somebody else's physique, or you looked like something that's a little bit more what you see on the TV shows, be really, really happy with your vessel and start loving on it. And it's similar. Whenever you hear the theme, love the earth and the rest will follow, you can plug in love your body and the rest will follow. It's the same.
Another aho.
Thanks.
The next day is the start of the month of Capricorn, the astrological month. The sun goes into Capricorn, and it's also one of the cornerstones of the astrological year. It's solstice. Solstice in Greek means the sun stops, and so that's the longest night of the year in the northern hemisphere. It's the longest day of the year in the southern hemisphere. We're in a world of duality sometimes. And this whole Capricorn theme to me is just love the earth, the rest will follow. And Capricorn also rules karma and choices we've made. And so when the sun goes into Capricorn, which is deep and the most profound element of earth and karma and laws and rules, it's telling us to get back in alignment with the karmic harmony with the earth. Be dharmic with it. Love it. I always say in my head, and sometimes to other people, if we just love Mother Earth with as much ability as we have, we would know the right choices to make. We would make the right karmic outcomes. The mind will follow that. The PhD or the recommendation or the science will follow the love. If you have great love for Mother Earth, you will automatically start choosing things that are in better harmony.
Because we are part of the earth. We're children of the earth. We're made of earth stuff. The Native Americans say the earth is our body, and water is our blood, and fire is our spirit, and the air is our breath. All of it in combination is the manifest of the human form. And so if we are not loving the earth, in turn, we're not loving ourselves. If we start taking care of ourselves, we'll in turn be taking care of the earth, and not taking care of ourselves in a superficial way. You know, not synthetic help to the self, but nurturing ourselves in a wholesome, holistic manner. Same for the earth. So as we come into solstice, which I feel is really the kind of the closing point, and we start to just go to sleep for a little bit and marinate on what's to come. And then in the spring equinox, that's the beginning of a new year. And this is our dark time and our quiet time to really think about what to do. And we go into the belly of the earth, like the snakes crawl down into the bottom of the earth and curl up and go dormant. And the bear goes into his cave, and the seeds are just holding their space until they start to turn towards the sun around Imbolc. So this is a very quiet time. As the sun moves into Capricorn on solstice, the sun is how we express ourselves. Capricorn is earth justice, and we can really use this quiet time to think about the ways that we are going to transform our sweet mother come spring, when everything starts budding and growing again and turning towards the sun. We bring in this new regime, this new self-love for her, and make it part of the daily habit. So be thinking about that as you also prepare for your vision boards for 2022. Put Earth right there in the center of it, that she's the one that we need to be focusing on, as well as your own physical body. Then we come up to the 23rd of December, and this is a big dog. And Michael, we explained Saturn Uranus square again.
Yes, this has been the predominant energy of 2021 when we did our astrological report at the start of the year. This was, we said, the number one strength or forward energy. And it's actually not going away in 2022. So Saturn and Uranus squared each other 3 times in this 2021 year, in February, June, and now on December 23rd. It's the last of the exact squares, but all of 2022, these 2 planets will be staying close in that square energy. And what it is Saturn represents structure, society, the way we interact, laws, justice, constitutions, bills of rights, karmas. And it's in the sign of Aquarius, which is shift, change, revolution. And so they're kind of contrary to each other. Saturn is structure and holding the old way, and the Aquarius energy where it's sitting is change, new, release, open, reveal. And then it's squaring Uranus, which rules Aquarius, and Uranus is all about awakening the soul self to the personal self. And that's either done traumatically or revelatory. Either way, it's going to wake you up with a lightning bolt. Boom! And Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, Mother Earth, the soil, our food, how we use medicines, the resources, our bodies. And so there's this juxtaposition between Uranus and Taurus, which is about the earth and the shift of Mother Earth and a new consciousness around it. And Saturn is the old structure and trying to awaken to new ways. They could be harmonizing, however, probably if you look back in this last year, there's been lots of examples of contradictions and things not making sense and clashing, and 2 different portals and ideas meeting up with each other. One's the death portal and one's the birth, and which way are we going? So this energy is recapitulating a 3rd time. Another way to say that is, did you get the message? And if you didn't, it's going to hold all of 2022.
I think there's things that could show up at this. I mean, always remember when you get a date, it's a loose, proximity of time, because time is really a construct of the mind. But around that time, December 23rd, I wouldn't be surprised if we get more earthquakes or rattling of the Earth's energy physically because of that Uranus and Taurus piece. And then this is also the quintessential part of the patriarch crumbling. That Saturn piece represents a lot of what we've been holding as structure, this patriarchal society that we've had for 2,000 years, and Uranus squaring it and saying something needs to change radically. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some radical shift in law, in the way we've held things to be just dropped almost suddenly, because Uranus has that quick lightning bolt effect. It will be like a, wow, how did that happen? How did we allow that? Or how did that go that way? Or whatever it is. It could be a quick, sudden change of some kind of law or order, as well as some kind of rattle of the earth around that time, which of course is really close to Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then coming up, the next piece in the report is Christmas Day's energy, and there is a little softness to it. So I think that's a boon for the time, whether you're gathering with family or just a quiet Christmas, which seems to be a common theme I'm hearing from friends and family, that it's just a simple, quiet Christmas this year. So on this day, what's happening?
On Christmas Day, Venus, who's in Capricorn, will conjoin Pluto for the second time as she's in retrograde, and Mars will trine Chiron. Those are both nice, harmonious, or potentially harmonious things. Venus is, again, values, earth, love, the body, beauty. Pluto is the soul. And so they're coming together in Capricorn, the sign of deep earth. It's enjoying the earth, enjoying the community, coming into love, seeing beauty. I look at that as optimism from the soul. You know, that things can change, and if we hold the vision of truth, beauty, and love, that it will. Mars and Chiron, Mars is willpower and strength and standing up and being empowered in the body. And Chiron, when it's healed the wound, it's the healer. And so this is the rise up of those children of the earth who are here to heal and transform and be messengers and stewards of the new earth, or so I feel.
I think it's interesting that happens on Christmas Day, because typically Christmas has been, at least in my awareness, a very materialistic, over-commercialized holiday, and it seems to be about stuff and things, and it's lost a lot of that family or heart-centered or appreciation for things that are of true value, not things that are false value. And I think these lineups of Venus right next to Pluto, so the two energies of those planets amplify each other. They become like a one unit, and it's like, as Michael said, love and values and the body and harmony comes together with the soul, and that maybe this holiday time is a chance to, and with Mars trining the wounded healer, a chance for us to really take a solid hold of, like, this is who I am. I stand for love and peace, and at the core essence of my being, at the deepest level of who I am, I believe in love and compassion and kindness, which I believe everybody does. Even the people that we see walking around that seem like total jerk faces, that have a attitude or a chip on their shoulder, if you could strip away the wounds that they have, if you could strip away the hateful story they carry in their heart, and you could pull back into the core essence of their being, it's loving kindness, it's love, it's compassion, as all beings are, as our earth is. And so I think this is a day where we might return to that remembrance of who we are. Remember, Venus will be in retrograde, so it's a remembering of our true self, and maybe that will help us to set that lifestyle of self-love, and including the earth at the same time. So let Christmas stay sweet with that extra boon that comes to it. And it's not so much about if they liked your present and if it cost enough money, or if it's cool enough or hip enough, or did you get enough. And I know you know that, but sometimes we get caught up in the fray and we get, competitive with making sure it's a perfect Christmas. And the perfect Christmas is a heart-centered Christmas, in my opinion. I didn't get an aho on that.
Aho, sorry.
Just kidding.
Right after the perfect Christmas of the heart, December 28th, this is the biggest energy of 2022 in our estimation, and we determined that 2022 is the year of the portal. I said earlier in the report, something is dying. That's the portal out of the old. It's okay for things to die. It's natural. Winter season is the death season, and the portal is also opening up to what is being birthed. And hopefully this energy is what is guiding us in its harmonious way. Jupiter goes into the sign of Pisces from December 28th all the way into May. It'll retrograde for a little bit and then return back in. But Jupiter in Pisces, it will be catching up with Neptune in the beginning of the year, and so it's Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces totally. And Jupiter is about faith and trust and going on a vision quest and holding the vision of truth in your heart and connecting to nature. Pisces is unconditional love and spirituality and coming to true solutions of problems from heart-centered spiritual Mother Earth consciousness is my belief. And when they connect up with Neptune, Neptune is an opportunity to transcend, to rise above the duality, and to step into your heart-centered consciousness.
I like Jupiter and Pisces a whole bunch. It seems like a natural place for it, and at one point it was a natural place for it. And I like anything. Jupiter represents expansion, bigness, right? It's the biggest planet, so just hold that as, you know, a simple way to think of it. And then Pisces, as Michael said, is that spirituality, so big spirituality. And if you can't tell, we really like the concept of big spirituality, because I think I think if we can all tune into the spiritual side of our being, to the way we're all connected through spirit, to the spirit of the earth, that we will find so much more harmony and connection in our humanity than we are the way we are going about it now, which is, to me, very much tuning into, again, that mental cognition and power struggles, etc. So I'm excited for Jupiter and Pisces, and like Michael said, that will be a focus energy of 2022, and so that will have a strong effect. I want to caution, though, that everything has a shadow side, and just as Jupiter is that big and expansive, Pluto Pisces is spirituality when it's in its right way, and it's delusion and deception when it's in its wrong way. So this could be big delusion, big deception as well. And you're the one who's holding the reins. You get to be in charge of that energy for yourself. And so choose to have a big awakening, a big breakthrough into your consciousness, rising a little higher in awareness of what is real and true. And when you allow for that, you will step into that spiritual aptitude. And I love that old saying, we say it a lot, we're spirit beings having a human experience, and I think Jupiter and Pisces will help us remember that.
December 30th is Mercury conjoined Pluto. So Mercury and Venus are doing this little dance around Pluto. This goes back to the idea of the mind, Mercury connecting with the soul. In a harmonious way, it can be a clearing and an opening of the mind. Consider the mind like a crystal. The ancients in the Mayan tradition, the Tibetan tradition, back to Atlantis, they all use crystal skulls. And it's a representation of clearing the mind so that it is open and harmonious and receptive. That's what crystals do. They amplify frequency. So if your mind is scattered and out of place and holding junk information, it will amplify that frequency in your inner being. You've had those nights where the mind starts spinning and it's an echo chamber. If you meditate on a crystal or a crystal skull and the mind is clear, then it's open for the channels of spirit to move through, and it amplifies the pureness and sacredness of the soul. I think this is an opportunity to remember that and do that and connect in.
So like another way to look at that is if you hold a crystal up and you can see through it, you know, they're crystal clear, and it might be a little magnified or you know, a little bit of optical delusion. I don't want to use the word delusion, but it's not totally like a piece of glass, but you can see through. If you put a piece of dark colored paper on the other side of it, your crystal isn't going to see through to the light. It's going to see the black paper. That's the effect that it's having. So you look at the crystal and you see darkness. Or if you put tin foil around it, your crystal's going to look like tin foil. It's going to reflect anything that you're putting into it. So then if you take that metaphor to the mind stuff, if we're looking at our television all day and we're having talking heads telling us what's truth, and then you go to your Facebook feed and then your Instagram feed and your TikTok feed or whatever it is, your social media, and they're reflecting things, that's what your mind is holding. It's not crystal clear. If you go to nature, however, and you take a walk in the woods and you look at the owls flying overhead and you see the little squirrels in the tree and you see the leaves on the ground and you see the water rolling down the river, that is clear. That's crystal clear consciousness. That is the natural world. That is truth. That is like having nothing in front of the crystal and only light coming through and you can see to the other side. That's what we want to try to work on around that. Basically, almost the new year, December 30th time, those two coming together saying, clear the mind of its negative influences. And I hate to say this, but sometimes those negative influences are people. And sometimes those people are very close to us, sometimes even related to us. And we feel like we have to keep them in our consciousness, in our mind stuff, as they blah, 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 tell us things, critical, negative, unhealthy, sometimes even falsehoods, lies, or gossip, or blah, blah, blah. You don't have to listen to that. You don't have to have that in your field just because you're related to them, married to them. You can put boundaries up and say, you know what? I don't want that in my field. Try that. This is a good time for that, to really set those boundaries for what goes into the mind stuff. I know I went off on it, but I think that's a big piece of self-love and lifestyle change, and making it a daily practice is keeping our consciousness filtered from the negativity.
The next day, or 2 days later, is January 1st, the Gregorian New Year of 2022. And if you take the astrological chart of January 1st, it's like a map or a frequency for the entire year. And there are two, I think, positive or potentially positive things on that day. Number one, Mercury goes into the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is the high mind. It's revealing, it's opening, it's revelatory, it's evolution. It is awakening of the soul to the personal self, potentially. And then the sun is trining Uranus that day. Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius. Uranus is sudden changes, shifts, new possibilities. Uranus's function as lightning also resolves two seemingly unsolvable differences. Suddenly it comes through and it's like, there was no solution to this problem, and Uranus says, here it is. And so I'm hopeful that that is the possibility of the whole year, that what once seemed like an intractable problem of the past few years is solved in a harmonious way.
I like that all this goodness happens on January 1st, because this is the day that we have our vision board and yoga class. And that Mercury moving into Aquarius is like new ideas and new clear thinking, potentially. And, change. Aquarius is change. And so working with our vision boards, what do we vision? What's the change? What's this new routine we want to set? And we can implement that on that day of creative thinking.
The day after that is the new moon in Capricorn. Love the earth and the rest will follow. This is a new cycle for the earth.
Right.
Do you want to say anything about that?
No, but remember, new moons are great for seed. It's the beginning cycle of the moon, so it's a new seed or new intention, and a perfect timing with that New Year's Day, right? The day before, you're in the energy of that new moon. So setting that intention, a little ceremony would be good, you know, a little fire and writing your intention and then offering it up, svaha, call in the 4 directions, burn some, you know, sacred incense, copal or palo santo, however you do ceremony, but really hone in. This is a big moon. This is a first new moon of the new year that can really set a tone for the energy that you would like in Capricorn about the earth. So please include in your intention setting some focus for our sweet earth that's much needing a change herself.
And then January 8th, the Sun conjoins Venus in Capricorn. I don't really have much to say about that. I feel like it's love the earth and the rest will follow. It's kind of recapitulating the energy. The more significant, I shouldn't say more, but the energy that you'll probably be interested in is January 14th, which is Mercury Retrograde. It's the first of 4 in 2022. There's usually 3. 2022 has 4. And it's retrograding in Aquarius, and so it's a chance to review the mind stuff, to go back into belief systems and open up to the possibility that we may not be seeing correctly or very limitedly. And this review is like, oh, it's an opportunity to unwind the karmic ropes and let the mind go back to its crystal state.
I think sometimes we get a little nervous about Mercury retrogrades because there is potential for it to go into a miscommunication about something. But I think we could look at it in a flip and say this is an opportunity for us to really review and reflect 4 times instead of 3 times this year for a lot of mental check-ins, which if we're retraining our mind, this would be a good year to have those little check-ins. Let Mercury retrograde be a check-in around your intention that you're setting for this year as well. And then coming to the end of this report, there's Sun conjoined Pluto on January 16. This is a chance for a little soul check-in, like, am I representing to the world? The Sun is how you show up in the world. What is in my heart? What is in my soul? What is deep inside me? And is that showing up in the world? So a good chance for us to do a little combination, Sun, Pluto, enhancing that projection of who we are a little bit. And then on January 17th is the Cancer full moon, and that's where we'll pick up with you next time. Cancer is that watery, emotional side, so that might bring us right up to a lot of feels on that day. So in the meantime, have a wonderful holiday in whatever way that you celebrate it. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the things that come through there. And please, please, please love the earth and know that the rest will follow if we do. It's the good path, red road.
Aho.
Aho.
Namaste.
Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky and stars, 10,000 suns shine within us all. Give praise to the one. Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky and